People in Turkey are voting today in one of the most consequential elections in the country's modern history. The presidential and parliamentary polls will close at 5 p.m. While casting his vote, President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan expressed hope that the outcome of Turkey's biggest election in generations would be good for the future of the country. Presidential candidate and opposition leader Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu cast his vote in Turkey's landmark elections in the capital city of Ankara, promising a spring for the country that will last forever. A heavily guarded Kılıçdaroğlu had arrived at the polling station to an applause, waving and greeting people before casting his ballot. The race is between three candidates: Turkey's incumbent president Recep Tayyip Erdoğan. However, Erdoğan, who has been in power for more than 20 years, now faces his strongest challenge so far. 6 opposition parties have joined forces for the polls, and they have chosen the opposition leader Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu as their unity candidate. While the race is predominantly between these two candidates, the right-wing leader Sinan Onan has also filed his candidature, something that will only cut Erdoğan's prospects. Today's vote will decide not only who leads Turkey, a NATO country of 85 million people, but also how it is governed and where the economy is headed amid a deep cost of living crisis and the shape of its foreign policy. The Turkish politicians held their final rallies in the last hours of campaigning on Saturday. Erdoğan, who is facing the toughest challenge in his 2 decades of power, was speaking at various neighborhood rallies in Istanbul, where he described the elections as a celebration for Turkey's future.
Çünkü CHP 14 Mayıs seçimlerini ülkemizin geleceğine, milletimizin kazanımlarına, devletimizin hedeflerine sahip çıktığımız bir demokrasi şöleni olarak görüyoruz. Ey Türkiye! Ey İstanbul, ey Ümraniye, bu mücadelede bizimle misin?
Erdoğan's campaign over the past month has focused on his government's achievements in the defense industry and infrastructure projects, and his assertion that the opposition would roll back such developments. Erdoğan also held evening prayers in Istanbul's iconic Hagia Sophia hours before the presidential and parliamentary elections. Scores of Erdoğan supporters also gathered to accompany him during the prayers. During his term, Erdoğan had changed the status of the iconic Byzantine-era monument from a museum to a mosque.
Başta milletimiz, devletimiz var olsun. Sayın Cumhurbaşkanımız başta olmak üzere Devlet Bahçeli, Hatay İl Başkanımız Sayın Alihan Döner başta olmak üzere Rabbim hepsinden razı olsun. Bize yerlerini, yuvalarını açtı ve hiç kimseye muhtaç etmedi Allah'ın izniyle. Yani onların emeklerini ne yapsak ödeyemeyiz.
Voter turnout in Turkey is traditionally high, showing continued belief in civic participation. However, if no presidential candidate secures more than 50% of the vote, a runoff will be held on the 28th of May. Now, for more on this, we have with us our correspondent, Lara Villalon, who is joining us live from Istanbul. Thank you for being with us. Now, this is likely to be the biggest political challenge that Erdoğan will face. What are the latest details that you have for us from the ground?
Thank you. So far it's been 4 hours since polling schools have opened, and there is a constant crowd doing lines to be able to vote. And according to some sources that we got on the ground, around 1/3 of the population already have cast their vote, especially in the earthquake area that has been more affected. Like all the process of voting, it's more complicated because around 1 million of voters will have to travel either today or in the previous days to be able to cast their vote. So far there's also have been no incidents. There is lines of people waiting to cast their vote as well. And there is a lot of expectation on who's going to be the next president, but also all the eyes are also focused on the parliament because polls are suggesting that there will be no majority from either side, Erdogan's coalition or Kılıçdaroğlu coalition. So there we could have as well like a very tension parliament that it will be very hard to reach agreements and to get a majority for either side who will win.
Right, and Lara, in the last elections in 2018, there were concerns about irregularities. Are there any such concerns this time around?
Yes, these concerns actually have increased a lot, especially because of some comments that the President Erdogan has made during the campaign, accusing the opposition to stage a coup in this election, and also trying even to have more control over the counting of these ballot boxes. So a lot of non-government organizations have made a call for voluntaries. There is around 100,000 people, voluntaries that will go around all the polling stations to check if there is all this process is being done with transparency or to denounce any irregularities.
Right, Lara, thank you very much for bringing us all the latest details from those elections currently underway in Turkey. We are now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.